Hello everyone, Professor Quizlook here. So I wanted to make a video about one of the most important pieces of the American political system, which is how power is shared. And this is federalism. So something you've probably heard about in maybe your high school courses, maybe you've encountered it in the news, but we've probably all heard of this idea of federalism. So I wanted to make us a video walking through some of the key components and interesting pieces of federalism. So when we talk about American government, one of these most important pieces of the structure of government, the structural ideas to understand, is federalism. Federalism answers the fundamental question at the heart of the U.S. political system. How is power divided between national government and the states? So, unlike many countries, the United States does not place all of governing authority in a single national government. At the same time, it is not a loose alliance of independent states. Instead, the American system is built around the shared division of authority, where power flows both downward from the top and upward from the states, depending on the issue. That tension, we know it creates tension. Maybe you've encountered it in the news, so we know it's a contentious issue. That tension between national power and state power is not a bug in the system. It is the system. It is how the system is designed to function. So, federalism refers to a political system in which two or more levels of government govern the same people and territory, each with its own sphere of authority. In the US case, that means the national government and the 50 states can operate simultaneously, each deriving power from the Constitution. This immediately distinguishes the United States from a unitary system like France or the UK, where most power rests with the central government, and with a confederal system where states retain nearly all authority and the central government is weak. So, the framers of the Constitution chose federalism because it solved several problems that they were deeply worried about. They feared concentration of power, especially after their experience with British rule. Federalism reassured skeptics that the new national government would not swallow the states. At the same time, the Articles of Confederation had shown that a government that was too weak could not tax, regulate commerce, or, importantly, respond to crises. Federalism was a compromise, stronger than a confederation, but safer than full centralization. Another reason federalism appealed to the framers was diversity. The states differed in economy, in religion, in geography, and even political culture. Federalism allowed states to reflect local preferences while still maintaining a unified national system. It also created another check on power. Power in the US is divided horizontally among branches, but also vertically between levels of government. That vertical division is federalism. The Constitution establishes federalism by distributing powers. Some powers are enumerated, meaning they are explicitly granted to the national government. These include regulating interstate commerce, coining money, conducting foreign policy, and providing for national defense. Other powers are reserved to states, including what we call police powers, authority over education, public health, criminal law, and local governance. Still, other powers are concurrent, meaning both levels can exercise them, such as taxation and lawmaking. So, when conflicts arise, the Supremacy Clause resolves them by establishing that federal law takes precedence over state law. But what counts as a conflict and when federal law truly overrides state authority has become a central source of political and legal dispute for more than two centuries. Federalism is written into the Constitution, but its meaning is worked out through politics, legislation, and court decisions. Importantly, federalism has changed over time. In the early republic, the dominant model was often described as dual federalism, where state and national governments operated in relatively separate spheres. That model weakened during the New Deal, when economic crises pushed the federal government to take a more active role in policymaking. This ushered in cooperative federalism, marked by shared responsibilities and federal grants to states. Later efforts at new federalism attempted to shift power back towards states, often by reducing federal oversight or converting categorical grants into block grants. Today, we often describe American federalism as competitive, with states and the federal government regularly pushing against one another. Federalism has clear advantages. One of the most commonly cited is policy experimentation. States can serve as laboratories of democracies, testing policies that may later be adopted elsewhere or even at the federal level. Minimum wage increases, marijuana legalization, and healthcare innovations often begin at the state level. Federalism also allows governments to be more responsive to local needs. Policies that make sense here in Colorado may not make the same sense in Mississippi. And federalism allows the differences to matter. Federalism can also limit the concentration of power. If one level of government overreaches, another level may resist. That tension can protect liberty and prevent sweeping abuses of authority. At the same time, federalism, clearly, as we can imagine, has drawbacks. Perhaps the most significant is inequality, because states have wide discretion, access to education, healthcare, and voting access, and public services varies dramatically across the country. Where you live can shape the quality of your citizenship. Federalism can also create confusion and inefficiencies, particularly during emergencies, when overlapping authority slows responses, and blurs responsibility. So historically, federalism has also been used to resist civil rights. States' rights arguments were frequently deployed to impose desegregation, voting rights enforcement, and federal civil rights laws. That history reminds us that federalism can protect liberty, but it also can protect entrenched inequality. So we can see So you can see federalism at work constantly in contemporary politics. During the COVID-19 pandemic, states adopted very different policies on masks, on lockdowns, and on vaccine policies, sometimes clashing openly with federal guidance. After the Supreme Court's decision in in the Dobbs case, probably heard of it as the Dobbs case, abortion policy returned largely to the states, producing immediate and stark policy differences across the country. Marijuana remains illegal under federal law, yet legal in many states, creating ongoing tension between federal and state authorities. Immigration enforcement, something that when we turn on the news we see. Sanctuary cities, environmental regulation, all raise similar conflicts when it comes to federalism. So in each of these cases, federalism shapes not only policy outcomes, but political conflict itself. It demonstrates who decides, who is accountable, and who bears the responsibility. Ultimately, federalism matters because it structures power in American democracy. It affects and impacts your rights, your access to services, and your ability to influence government. Federalism is not simply a constitutional design choice frozen in time. It is an ongoing negotiation over authority, responsibility, and democracy itself. So as we move through a reading and move through the course, keep federalism in mind. When you find yourself asking why policies vary so dramatically across states, or why the federal government cannot simply impose a uniform solution, you are asking a federalism question. And this is exactly why the concept is so central to understanding American government. Okay, thank you.